And focusing on the diaphragm, the solar plexus diaphragm, feel that the muscle is part of the breathing process. So I'm going to give you a little numbers situation. They're a little bit arbitrary, but they're just meant to kind of draw a picture for us. Help us draw our attention either with our fingertips to our diaphragm or our rib bones and kind of cue us and guide us to feel that these bones and this muscle are moving. Maybe 3 out of 10 of us will get some movement here. Most of us will get the movement here. So feel in the solar plexus area. So not an imagination of it, not a picture of it, but feel with certainty the kinetics of there's movement at the solar plexus level, the low rib level. With the inhale, both sides. Kind of noticing a pattern of when people use their hands to check around the solar plexus area and lower to confirm a kinetic, a mechanical movement. There's kind of a spacing out, like, I don't know where or what. You're feeling the muscle, the bones, that there's muscle, bone, tissue movement right at the solar plexus level, especially on inhale. Feeling that motion here will greatly impact how you experience the movement, the physical, the kinetic movement of breath elsewhere in the ribs. Just want to get it here first. On a working screen, we can't, there's fewer things I have to go on. And checking both sides, let's not presume that both sides of the ribs, the back, or the diaphragm are equally active. Okay, and we'll change the our seated position into straddle, setting the legs apart widely. And in something as simple as a postural shift, Confirm that you can breathe into the and feel movement in the solar plexus area. This is a threshold place where we'll be able to enact feeling movement below the diaphragm, above the diaphragm. So it's kind of a portal to both upward and downward. Okay. I'll turn our sternum to face the right thigh. Use your hands on the ground as necessary. And as you're pressing, the chest lifts. So as you're turning, chest lifts. I'm going to sustain this for a moment. You can still feel that diaphragm motion that goes to the back of the ribs, the left side and the right side of the rib, the low back. Here's another observation. Again, the numbers are arbitrary. They're just here to kind of paint a picture. Is if I'm checking with someone physically and in person, this movement in the low rib through the inhale, I would say most of us will start to get some movement in the diaphragm for maybe 10% of the inhale. So feel for that movement, the duration of your inhale. And that might be 10 counts of low back movement, 10 counts or 6 counts of low rib movement, 4 or 8 or 12 counts of diaphragm movement. Keep tracking the feeling of that diaphragm, solar plexus, rib movement until you need to exhale. So you have to really follow and watch and feel the breath very, very carefully. And quarter fold. Now I'm just reaching the sternum out over the right shin. Quarter of a fold, quarter of a fold. Keeping the feet active, toes pointing up. That may mean you have to turn pretty strongly that left hip. And release, come upright. So we'll pause right here in the middle. We're going to do a round of Uddiyana. Fingertips will supply a little pressure down. Inhale into low belly, low back. And bring the hands forward, swift, thorough exhale with the diaphragm, with the rib muscles. Chin close to sternum. Draw the belly in and back and up. And we'll do the other side. So, as we're inhaling, typically the diaphragm would move down. Not everyone's will do that necessarily. So you have to know what your body is what movements you're producing. And I'll turn the sternum facing over the left shin. I'm just going to sustain this tall, turned position. Quarter fold. And on the inhale, release out of the fold. On the inhale. We'll remain in the center. Sternum forward facing between the legs. We'll do another round of Uddiyana. Inhaling. And feel the descent as well as the ascent. There's two motions, at least two. We can feel that there's abdomen, diaphragm, and there's that chest bone movement. Then exhale everything out. With the diaphragm, with the rib muscles. Drawing, suctioning the belly in. Release. We're going to take one more turn toward each side. So I'm still using fingertips. Makes light the spine. It takes weight off the spine. So inhaling, ribs expand, diaphragm descends. Feel that in the abdomen, the low back. Sternum faces right shin. I'm just finding out if you turn a little bit um, more this time. And release. On the left side. And just time it up so you can feel your diaphragm as you begin your turn. And release. Help your legs together. And place the soles of the feet together, Baddha Konasana. You can get a round of Uddiyana here. And just take a moment, get your foot contact. You'll notice as you press into the feet, it's not a symmetric thing. They don't. Each of your feet probably creates a very different response in in its respective hip. So just take a moment to line up the feet, getting pressure and response in the hip that makes sense for how you want to work. And then exhale everything out when you're ready. Stay empty. You're working with the foot pressure as you draw the belly in You feel for the activity, both sides of the diaphragm, double dome. And it's a muscle, and just like any muscle, muscles are prone to kind of reduced sensitivity or movement, motor control. They're subject to tension anywhere elsewhere in the body. Simply relax the belly, breathe, and you need to breathe. Okay, and here too, using the hands, press, take some of the weight off of your sit bones so that you can stretch your navel and your pelvis will get a little rotation. So taking the weight off the sit bones, stretching the navel toward the feet, letting the pelvis come for a ride, and then resetting the weight on the pelvis. We'll set our hands to the sides of our right leg. So I've got my left hand by my shin, my right hand by my thigh. I'll keeping my left sit bone on the ground. Inhale, diaphragm to navel. And exhaling, navel reach forward. Left hip, relax. So for this turn, I'm kind of letting my focus rest in the navel instead of the chest or the chin. Sometimes we think of trying to get the chin to go forward or the chest to go down. Just navel out over the knee. Just those few inches of physical distance, that's going to get us a lot. And release. All right. We'll do this for the left side. So if the hands flank the left leg, so that's by the shin and by the thigh. If you need to put that right hand in the middle of your kind of leg hole here, that's fine. But keeping that right sit bone on the ground. We can increase the follow along through each inhale. There's motion, the diaphragm and the back tissues. You can follow that motion all the way down the ligaments that run in the inside of your spine. You can follow those ligaments for sure. And release. So these legs have been out here a little bit. Help your manually help them together. So that to me is very preparatory for the low back, mid back, where the diaphragm becomes the low back in structure. So let's set up for some bridge. Have by you any black or blocks you need for altitude help. We'll set the feet up hip width. And shifting the tailbone, the buttock up. And we'll lower out of bridge. Once the spine is entirely lowered, we'll pick the feet off the ground. And bring the knees over the belly or the hips. I'm just I'm just letting myself have some postural study of the diaphragm and the low back. Of course, you can shift your study, your body, wherever you need it. With the knees up like so, I'm going to use this little bit of intra-abdominal pressure that's just inherent and uh, kind of picking the feet up off the ground to work a side bend on the ground. So by keeping the feet up, breathing into the low back, I get a really specific access into the area. I'll do my left side first. Under the left ribs, left waist, left hip. So I'm going to start by reaching the left arm over my head, which is still near the ground. I'm just going to let myself see crescent. I'm just let my torso crescent a little bit on the ground. But it's not going to be a lot, because I still want to feel that left side of the back on the ground. It's just kind of like fanning that left side lumbar, that left side, the space between the rib and the hip. I'm just kind of fanning it. So with a lot of side bends, the tendency, again, we could just make arbitrary numbers, but a vast majority of us will take the side bend into more of a back bend, side bend than a kind of a, I guess we say a fold side bend. And this just lets us put a lot of abdominal, intra-abdominal pressure on that low back. And then release. Kind of realign myself. And then I'm going to crescent the right side. So the study for me has, I'm just wanting to open up observation and feeling through the right side of the diaphragm down to the right side of the low back and sacrum. So raising the right arm, and I'm still lying on the ground. My knees are over my body so that I can feel that intra-abdominal pressure. I can feel how the kind of the wall of my abdomen, it's not as supple as it is if I were to put my feet down, but that's affording me to physically focus breath into the right side of the low back and the waist and the back muscles. I'm kind of crescenting to bias the right side low back. If you figure out a kind of another way to do this, go right ahead. So I've got my right arm reaching over my head, still near the ground, crescenting the right side of the low back, feet off the ground. And release. So right from here, I'm going to play with that straddle lifting through. Kind of just recentered myself. Reaching the legs up. I'll separate the legs widely. You could bend them or straighten them. So already I'm just noticing how much differently my low back situates on the ground, contacts the ground. So I'm going to start these first few just by leaving my head down at rest. And exhaling, reaching out, recruiting those low belly muscles. Just kind of letting everything get moved and gathered and found and identified and touched and contacted. This whole sub-diaphragmatic area of the body. If you find there's a little too much pressure developing in the head and the neck, just you can lift the head, shoulder blade up. Just engaging those deep neck flexors might be adequate to just resolving pressure differentials. Yeah, release. I'll help the legs together. Setting the feet down. All right. So turn to a side and press up. Do one more move just to be kind of activating and playing with the tissues up by the head. So with this move, I'll be creating like a half downward dog and a half turbo dog. So from hands and knees. I'm going to start with my right hand doing like a turbo dog, kind of bending. And on my left hand, I'm stretching forward, straightened. Now, the bend of the right elbow, it's not really to do with the elbow. It has more to do with the serratus and the shoulder. So you move that around until you can sense, the right shoulder has moved away from the neck. And I'm just staying on my knees to work with the chest muscles, back muscles. So as I'm pulling my right elbow toward the back of the mat and kind of stretching, reaching my left arm toward the front of the mat, that kind of skews all of those back muscles around the spine. They kind of skew. You can imagine how they would skew diagonally. So arms in these different positions plus breath. When we're working with back tissue stuff or diaphragm stuff, it's great to put the shoulders in asymmetric configurations. Yeah, I'm going to switch sides. So I'm sitting the right hand out like a downward dog and the left hand out like a turbo dog. Okay. And it's up to you how you want to walk the hand out, pull the elbows, sink the hips, not sink the hips. A little bit more of a sketch pad day. Release. And I'm going to finish up here with a little dolphin prelude. So the elbows under the shoulders, clasp hands. I'm going to separate the knees, raise the hands. I'm getting a nice little tension through the tricep and the back of the armpit. And just start to sink the sit bones back. Again, just spreading the tissue through the back of the diaphragm, kind of where we've been feeling and focusing all morning. And release. And here, we'll take whatever's a restful or meditative position for you. I think we've done a lot, like a lot around the diaphragm area. So I just want you to be able to rest and continue to notice, feel the quality of diaphragmatic movement. You're lying down, make sure to give your head and your neck just a nice, helpful dose of soft space. Because while we may have followed the, let's see, anterior longitudinal ligament, while we may have followed the ligament from the diaphragm down, there's that ligament goes from the diaphragm up to the skull. So just the act of breathing is a type of head and brain and spinal fluid motion. So by resting with the head light, at ease, untensioned, you can observe and participate in that diaphragm to brain movement that fluid washes the brain and the spinal cord. When you're ready, bend knees. Turn to a side and press up. Namaste.